Hey guys, this is Tom calling with CDN Joiner. I just wanted to show you a quick video today on how to set up templates in the zipForm program. Now, templates are just a collection of forms that you'll use over and over again for each new listing or for each new buyer side. They're pretty much the electronic equivalent of the listing packets that they used to have up front. If you remember that, there was a file folder that had your listing agreement, it had your disclosures, it had your call center report, it had your other forms that were involved in the listing, and every time you wanted one, you just grabbed one of those packets and ran out the door and you were good to go. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it electronically in zipForm. We're going to create two templates, one for the listing side and one for the buyer side. Each one of those contains the forms for that side of the transaction. You can just reuse these over and over again, and it'll save you a lot of time when you go to do a transaction in either zipForm or in DTR. So I've logged into my zipForm account with my fictional user Jim Halpert. Right now I'm on my transaction page. These are all my transactions. I'm going to go ahead and set up my templates now. To do that, I'm going to go up here to the menu and I'm going to select templates. I just click on that and it shows me all my templates. Now right now I've already done this, so I've got two templates set up. If you've got anything on this screen and it's not something you remember doing, I would go ahead and delete those, get rid of them, and then we'll just set up two new templates. If you've got anything here that you want to delete, just go up to the delete button, which is right here, click that, and then each one of the options, or each one of these templates will have a checkbox. You click that, and then click the delete button, and that'll get rid of everything. You can start fresh. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that because I want to keep these two. But what I want to do now is I want to set up a new listing side template. So I'll go up to the button that says new. I click on that, and it opens up my new template creation dialog box here. Now it's important that you fill this out the correct way, so just follow along with me. I'm going to call this my new template. I'm sorry, we want to call that my new listing template. Use the word listing, and actually you'll know that this is the one you use on the listing side. So under the template type option, I'm going to select listing, and then on the property type, I'm going to select residential. So every time I do a new listing residential transaction in zipForms, it'll use this template to populate all the forms in there that I need. The status box I can't change, it's going to leave that on agent. But I'm going to click on this auto apply options down here. This is important because this is what's going to help it automatically happen for us. We want to make sure we always check the center button. What this is saying is it automatically apply this template to every new listing residential transaction that I do. So I'll check that one. Then the next option is to apply a current template. Now the way our offices are set up, this CDN Joiner zipForm account is good for the whole CDN Joiner company. Each office has created a template for their agents use that have the forms in it that broker wants for their agents to use. Each office is slightly different, but they're pretty much basically the same. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and use my office template as my starting point so that I don't have to drag out every single form that I want, and then I'll kind of customize that office template to be exactly what I want, and that's the one that I'm going to use in the future. So I'm signed in as Jim Halpert, who is a Pleasantburg agent. So when I click this apply template drop down, it lets me pick from a bunch of different templates. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to look for one that starts with the word office and has the word listing in it. For example, at Pleasantburg it's called PLE residential listing. Yours may be slightly different depending upon which office you are, but it'll probably have the word listing in it somewhere. So we'll go ahead and select that one as our starting point, and then I click on save, and it will actually go ahead and create my template for me right now. So I click save. It creates a template and it sticks me inside that template. Now if I hadn't started with my office template, this would all be empty. I wouldn't have any forms in here. I'd have to come over to the library and drag out each one that I wanted. But I'm starting with the office one. So you can see in the Pleasantburg office, we've got a cover sheet, the exclusive right to sell, the disclosures, the residential data form, the profile sheet for the MLS, the new South Carolina disclosure form, and a call center form. That's basically all I really need. If you have other forms you want to use, like if you always use addendum 1 or you want to keep a bill of sale or whatever other document you want, go ahead and just drag it into this transaction, and it will always be there whenever you create a new transaction. Alright, so now we've got the forms, and we've actually done a lot here. This is actually what we'll use every time we create a new listing transactions in zipForms. All these forms will be automatically added to it. We won't have to go through and each time pull out each one of these. But we can actually go a step further than they even could with the old listing packages. Remember, the old listing packages had all the forms, but they didn't have any information on those forms. We still had to fill them out. But what we're going to do is we're going to pre-fill out as much information as we can ahead of time, and that'll just save us a lot of time when we actually go to do a listing transaction, because that information that never changes from transaction to transaction, we're just going to go ahead and pre-fill in, like our broker name, our broker office, our phone numbers, our email address, and all that information that will always stay the same. The easiest way to do that is I'm going to start with the very first one here, which is a cover sheet. I like to use a cover sheet when I'm doing my transactions because it's just a convenient one-stop place to put in all the basic information about this transaction, the buyer, the seller, and the property, and so forth. I'm going to click on that to open it up. It opens up, and the cover sheet has got a block up here for the buyer's name. Of course, I can't pre-fill that in because that's always going to change. The seller is always going to change. The property information is always going to change. Then I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. The selling broker information. This is a listing, so I don't know who the selling broker is going to be yet. But the listing broker box, that's always going to be me. So you can see my office has already pre-filled as much information as they could, but this is good for every agent in this office, so they can't go ahead and fill out the name. But this is a template that I'm just going to use for me, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in my information. So I'm going to type in Jim Halpert, my listing agent license number, my phone number, and my email address. And again, this is information that I'll never have to fill in again. And since this is a cover sheet, all the information that's in here is going to carry through to all the other forms that are in my transaction. For example, the listing agreement will take this information and stick it in the listing agreement, and the contract and so forth, all that will be carried across. Working my way down here, the closing information, this is always going to change from transaction to transaction, so I can't necessarily pre-fill this out either. So really, this is all I can do on that cover sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click my Save button, and I'll click on the back button one more time, and that'll take me over to the next form, the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. I'm going to go ahead and open that one up, and I'm going to scroll up to the top. You can see it's already pulled in my brokerage information. I'm going to go through this form too, just like all the rest of them, and looking for information that never changes from transaction to transaction, or hardly ever changes. Really, kind of rule of thumb I do is if I use it most of the time, I'm going to pre-fill it in, and those times I don't use it, I'll just change it for that particular transaction. If I don't do it more than half the time, I'll just wait, and for the rare times that I do use it, I'll stick it in there. So for example, we'll scroll down here a little bit. There's a paragraph on here about the compensation of brokers. You may typically do this if you always say charge a brokerage fee of 7%. We'll go ahead and we'll fill in 7%. And of course, any particular transaction we have reduced our commission, we just change it on that one, but the template will always start out at 7%. And maybe I always pay a buyer's agent 3.5, a transaction brokerage 3.5, and a sub-agent. I don't work with sub-agents, so I'll put 0 there. And notice that 0 doesn't stay. You have to hit the space bar on that screen to get that 0 to stay, because that space bar overrides that transaction or that field. Okay, so I've got that stuff in. I'll scroll down through here. I'll look and say, okay, I always put 30 days in this box. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-fill that out. Again, it's just going to save us a couple of keystrokes the next time we actually go to do a real listing. So I'll kind of work my way. I'm not going to do that right now, but you just work your way through this. I always put it in the MLS. I always expect the owner to let me put the lockbox on, and so forth. I'll scroll down through here. All the rest of this I'm just going to have to pre-fill in when or I can't pre-fill out, I just have to wait for the actual transaction. So that's all I can do here. I'll save that one. I'll jump back out. A few of these other fields, I can fill some of this stuff in, just kind of work your way through, and anything that you see that will always stay the same, go ahead and pre-fill it out now, and that'll just save you a lot of time when you actually go to do the transaction. Another quick thing is on the residential data form. I know that for example, the call center telephone number never changes from transaction to transaction, so why don't I just go ahead and put that information in. And if you always do certain things here that you always included in a val and the IDX, just go ahead and pre-check those. That'll just save you a little bit of time when you actually go to do that transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and save and get back out of here. But hopefully you get the idea. Just on any of these forms, any of this information that never changes, this is the template we're going to use from now on for our listing transactions. So I'm going to click on the back button one more time. And you see I've got my new listing template over here. That's the one I just now created. And now for you, you'll want to go ahead and do the same thing, but this time on the buyer side. So I just go up and I click on New. And I will call this my new buyer template or purchase template or something like that. Now this one we're always going to use when we're on the purchase side of the transaction, and it'll always be residential. And I want to automatically apply this template every time I do a new purchase residential. And then I'm going to take the same option here. I'm going to start with the office template, which they have created a residential purchase template. So I'm going to start with that one and customize it for myself. I'll click on Save. It creates a transaction and dumps me in it. So at this point, I go back to my cover sheet, open it up. And of course, I can't fill out the buyer, the seller, or the property information because it's always going to change. But the selling broker, that's always going to be me because this is this transaction template I will only use for purchase side. So I would go ahead and fill in my name, my phone numbers, my email, and so forth. And then I would save that information, and I would jump back to, on the buyer side, it's good to go ahead and pre-fill out this agreement to buy and sell because there's a lot of stuff on here, especially down those that last page, the signature block, where you want to go ahead and pre-fill out. And then you're always going to be on the buy side because this is a buyer side transaction. You can see my office has filled in the broker information, but I'll need to fill in my licensee information, my license number, my expiration date, and so forth. And then the rest of it, I'll just have to kind of wait for when it actually goes under contract and fill out the rest of it. But a lot of this stuff I can pre-fill in right now. It'll just save me that much more time when I'm done. So we'll go ahead and click on back. And you can see the documents that I have in the buyer side template. If there's another one that you always use on the buyer side, or if you hardly ever use the due diligence, or you hardly ever use the dual agency, go ahead and pull those out of here, and then you can add them when you do need them. If you use the new simplified contract, you want to add that one instead of the agreement to buy and sell here. But whatever transaction documents you want, you can go ahead and grab them, and they'll be waiting for you every time you do a new buy side. So I'm going to jump back out of here again. And I would have my two templates. I'll go ahead and get rid of the two I don't need. So you can see this one I just now made, and this one I just now made. I'll get rid of those. That leaves me with my two templates. And let me show you how you're going to use these when the time comes to actually create a new transaction. So I'll jump over from my template side to my transaction side. Now don't go to the template side and think you're going to create a new transaction. You'll actually make sure you're on the transactions button when you go to create a new listing or new buy side. So let's say I'm getting ready to work with a new listing. I would create new, and the transaction name would be 100 Main Street. And I'm going to click listing, and I'm going to click residential here, but watch what happens down here when I click. As soon as I click residential, it says, hey, this template, my listing template, is automatically going to be applied to this transaction that we're just now getting ready to create. That's because I checked that center button that said every time I do a new listing, residential transaction, automatically kick this template off and stick all those forms in there. I don't need to mess with this drop down or anything else because it's automatic. I click on save, and it creates that 100 Main Street transaction for me, and there's all my forms waiting for me to fill out. And even better than that, when I open it up, you can see there is my pre-filled listing information. So now at this point, since this is a real transaction, I would go ahead and I start filling out on the listing side. So it'd be all my seller information, and my property information, and then of course all that information would flow over to the other documents that have the same fields in them. and it makes it a lot faster and a lot easier to do when you set it up. Now it works pretty much the same way when you're using transaction rooms, which is really where you want to start your transactions. I keep trying to tell everybody that. Don't even go into zipForms other than to set those templates up. You can go back into DTR, I can click on transactions, I can create a new transaction, and we'll just say this is one that I just now created. And then when I go to the Documents tab, I can add documents from zipForms, and I can create a new transaction, and it will take the documents for me right there and bring them right into the room for me, all ready to be filled out. So sorry this went a little bit long, but hopefully you've learned how to create a new templates in your zipForm account. This is something you'll only need to do one time, and then you'll be able to use them forever, and then you probably will never have to go back into zipForm that often. Thanks very much.